All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Wisdom and Wealth. We have somebody who's pretty awesome, Raul Gonzalez. All right, this guy, he has the number one insurance agency in TMS Insurance in San Antonio, Texas.
That's right.
In his region. And we got introduced through the Brokerage Inc., through Cheryl and Kristen and the whole crew over there. And it's been really cool, but we got connected, and I'm excited for you guys to listen to his story a little bit. It's pretty phenomenal that I think a lot of entrepreneurs would hear as a great encouragement, but also to hear like practically some wisdom stories from you, because you built up something awesome in San Antonio right now. But man, I just want to say thank you for coming on, and I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Well, you look good. I'm dressed down right now. So, pay no mind anybody's listening and watching. But, dude, if you don't mind, launch into, because you came, for anybody who doesn't know your story, you went from a worship pastor or worship ministry, right, into the insurance business and built something awesome.
So,
right?
So the way that actually worked is, I worked at Humana for years, and
to Humana first. That's right. I'm sorry.
I worked there at Humana, and then when I started this agency, TMS, I was able to come on as basically an unpaid member of the staff, and at a small church plant that in San Antonio, really had a heart for planting a church downtown San Antonio. And so I led worship there for about a year and a half, and kind of spent the time doing that while I was growing this business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you sing or were you playing?
Yeah.
You sang too?
Sing, yeah.
Oh my
sing,
goodness.
play guitar, and yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I wish I would have known exactly that, because I'm doing the little guitar app right now.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm not. I play percussion, right? We've talked about this, but I'm like a drummer raised up, so I just beat the heck out of some drums. But yeah, I've always they always want to be the front man too.
Exactly.
So
yeah. The
like
time's
that.
coming. It's going to be great. You got it.
Well, man, tell me. So TMS, you get over 300 agents, right?
Yeah.
Is that where you're standing right now?
Yeah.
And primary business is Medicare.
Medicare, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell me, like, okay, let's start at the very beginning. Like, what from childhood, even, like, what was the foundation in your life that kind of led to where you're at right now? Or what kind of speared you into that role?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is actually, come from low income area of San Antonio with a single mom. My dad was intermittently around, and so from all of that, ended up going in, just kind of jumping into the insurance business after high school. So I tried college for a short period of time, and it just never felt like it was right for me. And so I was like, you know what? I kind of had this chip on my shoulder. I was like, you know what? I've got a lot of books. I read a lot until this day. And so a lot of business books that I read. And so started reading books on relationships, things like that. And to be real honest, for a long time, had kind of a bad attitude, kind of a chip on my shoulder, as you might imagine, kind of someone coming from a more rough upbringing. And
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So over time, started going to this great church in San Antonio, connected with a really good pastor. And one of the conversations that he and I had, was very kind of super political and super just opinionated and everything like that. And so just kind of spending time with him, he recommended that I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Good book.
And my boss also recommended it. So I think there's a trend of people thinking I needed to do it. And then when I read that book, and I was open to the things that I read in there, really kind of flipped the way that I talk to people, the way that I interact with people. And I used to be the kind of guy that's I'm going for a gotcha, right? So if we're in a conversation, especially in a debate where I'm just trying to mic drop on you and do those types of things, it really just flipped that completely. And right around the time when I finished that book is when I left Humana and I started this insurance agency.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about that. So you're at Humana, and were you a captive before?
Yep.
Right. I mean, but then you made the break. That's a huge thing in any financial or any industry where you have a captive to non-captive, or like broke off to separate and do your own thing.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit. How hard was that?
Yeah, you know, it's a really interesting story. So I worked there for 6 years at Humana, and I loved it. I was never like a top producing agent, but always kind of like seen as a leader, as a person that knew stuff by my coworkers. But again, I was pretty opinionated. So like, you know, I have this one individual. He was actually, I think he'd kind of get annoyed with me, especially like we were having a political conversation one time, and kind of got him like that. The funny part is how this kind of comes full circle. So he was kind of clearly annoyed with me. He's a tenured agent there.
Okay.
And so after I read that book, things had started changing and just really started, you know, interacting different with people. Around after that time, my wife told me that she was pregnant and that we were going to have a baby. And my immediate response was, "That's awesome. I'm going to quit my job." And she was like, She stopped for a second. Yeah.
Not what she expected.
Yeah. She was like, okay, great. So she actually, you know, this is, you know, I tell people like the value of having a good wife, a supportive wife that believes in you. And, you know, there's some wives that might in that moment be like, "Are you crazy? We're about to have a baby. What are you thinking?" And she was just like, "You know what? I trust your leadership. If that's what you want to do, I trust in it." So
That's huge.
yeah. And so, literally the next month on payday, we used to get paid commissions once a month. I gave them my 2 weeks notice, and that was the day that they said, "You know what? You can go ahead and leave." At that moment.
Yeah.
And so they're like,
usually how it goes,
yeah,
right?
you know what? We don't need you those extra 2 weeks is really kind of how that happened. And so it was an interesting moment. And, that immediately was able to start and started. I'd actually started kind of building the business kind of in the back end, like creating a website and doing those things myself, which I find really interesting to be able to create things. So I went and built all that stuff out right before I gave that 2 weeks notice, and I was ready to go.
So you're ready. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Right? At least you did some pre-planning before just pulling the trigger.
Oh, absolutely. 1 month to build it, and then we made it happen.
So, okay. So you broke off, but what were your first steps, right? Like you got the website. Did you go out and you started selling Medicare yourself, or did you start recruiting agents right away, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't sure exactly what the full business would look like. I had no idea it would be what it is today. Mm-hmm. But immediately I was scrolling on Facebook, you know, back in 2013, I was on Facebook, and I had mutual friends with someone who just got their license. And I was like, that's my first agent. So I was like, hey, connect me with that person that just got their license. It was like the boyfriend of a cousin of a friend of mine. And so I called him, and I was, you know, 2 days before I had actually given my 2 weeks notice, I had talked to him and recruited him. And so just slowly just started to recruit. And here's kind of the full circle moment about how kind of that reading that book kind of changed my life. So the individual I told you I kind of got into an argument with, his name was Vince. His name is Vince. And I'd been kind of annoying to him. And but over the time had changed quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And so a month or two after I left Humana, I found out that he'd given his 2 weeks also and had the same thing, and he decided to become an independent agent. So I immediately picked up the phone and I was like, Vince, let's chat. And so we went to lunch, and I just kind of told him like what my vision is, how I'm going to support agents and things like that. And he took the chance on me, and he trusted me to work with me. And I tell people, like, if I was still that kind of super opinionated, kind of just like, you know, kind of a jerk, to be honest, there's no way that he would have joined me. And this gentleman was a top producer at Humana. He was he was in President's Club like 5 or 6 times, which
Wow.
means that he's in the top 5% nationally for sales agents. And he took the chance to come to me, which I think that ultimately there was a point where about 25 of my previous coworkers became agents with us.
Wow.
And
Holy cow.
I don't think it would have happened had it not been for him making that decision to trust me. It's kind of like, well, you got a top producer that's willing to go to him. a lot of other people were able to make that move. And I think it's because I read that book, kind of changed the way that I treated people.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about bringing on, and you may have been equipped a little bit at Humana, and you can share that if that's the case, but like you're bringing team members on. Like, how does that even look for you when, and I've been through this, right? Where you're like, I'm putting in commission structures. I'm trying to put like, how much do we pay? What's the split, if any? What's going on here? How do we structure this thing as you're bringing on, or maybe even an onboarding program, right? Like, how do I teach them what I know especially if they're super green or not, they don't have any experience or limited? And I mean, talk about any of that. Was that any of that come into the fold, or was that a struggle to get through?
It was, yeah. So I had, I was just a sales agent at Humana. I wasn't a leader. I wasn't a manager out there. So I was a sales agent. And so as a sales agent, I was out there and, didn't really know what I was going to do. So as I would bring people on, this is what I always tell people is like, just go out there and do it. Like you may not know what it looks like. You may not know, you may not know how to do it, but you're going to figure it out. Like I've been in business long enough. I'm a smart guy. I can figure this out. And so truly that's how I did it. So I'd go in and I just started creating relationships, trying to talk to people. And I just had the benefit of that first agent coming to join me, that Vince, that a lot of people I started with, just, as people started leaving Humana, they would call me up. And so I was blessed in that. In our first year, it was a huge blessing. In our first year, we went, I had 5 agents and we sold over 1,000 apps in our first AEP, which is, for a brand new agency, that's not normal.
Right.
And so
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but that helped me to be able to spend the time to recruit agents, to go out there and kind of come up with a value proposition. What do I do for people that others won't necessarily be able to do? And so that was a big part. So our business is a little bit different. Ours is they're independent agents. Kind of think about like a real estate agent, right? Like so they have a team, or a real estate broker. They'll have a team, and so that team is not necessarily their employees. They're all 1099, and so that's how our agents are. They're 1099 agents. So the way that I built that is kind of, and this is probably true for any type of business, is come up with a value proposition. What is it special that I might be able to do for those individuals? What do I do? What value do I bring to them? Mm-hmm. And then sharing what that value is. So
what was that at the beginning, and what is it now?
It's funny because it has changed. And yeah, so at the beginning, there was a lot of agents that were senior agents, and they'd been doing this for a long time. So when I left Humana, I was 34 years old. So, I'm still super young, very tech savvy. So what it was is that my value proposition for them is I'm going to help you with all the learning the computer systems for, excuse me, learning the computer systems for several different insurance companies. And I'm going to help you. We have our annual certification test. I'm going to help you navigate those systems. I'm pretty quick with answers. If you're confused about an answer, I'll make sure to answer those questions. So one of the agent that came right after Vince, she was 65 years old, just retiring from Humana, and decided to join me also. So that was what I brought, is just like, I'm the guy. I can get you through all the systems. I can get you through all the testing and things like that, and just get you out there ready to sell. Okay. Now that's completely different now. What we do for agents is just, we have a great training program that we have, that we've put together, probably, about 23 hours of videos that our agents, so you could be out in random, in Illinois, and you can kind of get that same training that we do here. It's videos of me, the same way that we do our training in person. Right. So that's something we do. We have like a free CRM that we give to agents. We have we just, the idea is just everything that I wish that I would have had when I first left Humana, we offer to agents now. And then we have a great partner in the brokerage. Yeah. And so we have we're smaller. So we have all the benefits of of a national FMO that they get when they work with us, but then they also kind of get like that. It's a smaller, it's more family, 300 agents versus 30,000, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool thing. I feel like for agents, you kind of get the best of both worlds in the way that we do it.
That's awesome. So for anybody that doesn't know the business side of that, how's the relationship with the FMO, right, versus a smaller family, and they're family owned too, obviously, but like smaller family owner, maybe even local to the region. What's the big difference between you and TBI?
Yeah, well, so TBI, they have a national footprint, so they're in every state, and so depending on the market that you're in, you might not have someone in every area, but for the most part, TBI, better than a lot of their competitors, has local presence in all their big markets. So like they have a director in San Antonio. She's fantastic. They have a director. They have like 3 in the Dallas Fort Worth area. They have, they have several different, but a lot of the other national FMOs, everything's just done over the phone. So
really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You're just like, you're just, and to be honest, like I was with one and they did a solid job, but I moved over. I didn't start my business contracting with the brokerage. I moved over from a very, very large national FMO. Okay. And I had one person there that I talked to, and I didn't feel like they were engaged in helping me grow my business where the brokerage is. And then kind of what we do is very similar to what the brokerage does, like on a smaller scale. We're engaged in helping our agents or agencies grow. We're like, I'm spending the time, what I'm thinking about is how can I help these agents grow? And maybe a lot of the larger international FMOs are just kind of focused on themselves. How do I grow myself? It's like, well, my job here is to help you grow. And then that helps everybody above me grow.
I tell you, it's funny about that because, I've seen my mindset shift in our firm from that, right. Where at first, and I'm sure anybody who's in, I guess, financial or any sales type role, your goal is to just go get business first. But it shifted for us. It was basically like, how can we help the entrepreneur grow? Right. And so we're very much like you're doing that with the agents, that's selfishly, that's what we all want, right? We all want to grow. We all want to do things, but it kind of took on the, rising tide raises all ships, where I'm like, no, grow you. I'm gonna grow everybody around. It's and it was the connector too. It's like, how can I connect you, or what's an issue you're dealing with that we can help solve? And it doesn't have to be necessarily financial or planning or wealth management or that related field. It could be, we had one, just a buddy at school, he had a service that worked with old folks' homes, with senior facilities, right? And I'm like, oh, have you spoke with this person? She owns a whole bunch of them. And he's like, no, I don't know them. But we're like in the same classrooms with our kids, basically. I'm like, hook them up. And all of a sudden he became a huge advocate for me. And he's not even a client, right? And so it was cool because it shifted this place where it's like, let's help each other grow a bunch and legitimately partner up. And it's been pretty explosive, even in that shift for myself. So I'm like, I appreciate that because that's where I see TBI. That's what they've even brand. They're like, well, we help you grow. Yeah. We want you to get as big as possible.
Yeah, it's this thing. I read a book called Never Eat Alone. Have you ever read it?
I haven't read it, but I've heard of that book. Yeah,
fantastic. But one of the things that he talks about is just kind of helping people and being selfless with our time. So like if I have a friend, let's just say that you're growing your business, and I have a friend that is looking to work with people who work in wealth management, and that I would take the time, and it's not my role. I've got nothing to do with it, but I would take the time to help connect you. But the heart of it is selflessness, and just this idea that I'm going to just go out there. I'm going to help anyone that I can. If someone in business needs something, I'm going to help them. And so that is what ends up happening, though, is it ends up coming back to you where, like I'm helping you. And then all of a sudden someone comes from this other side and they're like, hey man, how can I help Cory grow? What can I, man, let me help you with this. I've got this great connection for you. And it's just kind of like this unselfishness that goes around. And you're right. The brokerage does a great job of that also.
There's a really good story I heard from Tony Robbins one time. And I know some people are split on him. I laugh because, my wife's like, she's like, man, my mom used to listen to all his tapes growing up.
Same.
She goes, I used to hate his voice, but now you like him. And so, but I love the guy. But he shared a cool story about a young guy who got his realtor's license, and in his neighborhood, he was talking about finding a problem,
Right.
solve a problem that people have, and they will love you for it. And so this one was apparently the trash union was on strike or something, and so nobody's trash was getting picked up for like weeks in the specific neighborhood where the guy lived. And so all he did was he scrapped up, I want to say like $4,000. This is several years back. So, but he scrapped up like $4,000 to go pay a local privately owned trash service.
Oh, wow.
To pull the trailer around and go collect everybody's trash. And so of course he wanted to keep private with it at first. But of course word got around and he started getting flooded with calls and about like, I want to pay you. And he shirked the money. He was like, no, I'm good. I just want to take care of the neighborhood. But if you need a realtor, I'd love your help. Right. And so what happened in that first year of his business ended up exploding somehow and ended up being a huge deal. So it was really cool because he went out and found an issue or a problem and went to serve other people and take care of them. They ended up wanting to bring it back tenfold.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you serve people, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like I'm serve people, and then one just good things seem to come back to you. Absolutely,
that's awesome. Well, talk about this. What times in your business where you've seen like a hockey stick moment? Like service is a huge deal, right? But was there any like practical things or specific moves or things you shifted in your business where you're just like, all right, we're doing good, or maybe even we've all had this, right? We're like, I wrote 1,000 apps and we did this big group first AEP and it's awesome, but then maybe we had a lull or a dip potentially, or like not as much growth as we wanted. But was there anything that really just kind of skyrocketed, a move that made it happen, or was it just a time thing for you?
Yeah, I think ours has been more of a time thing, and everything that we've done, we've actually grown kind of slowly compared to there's some out there that have grown super fast, but I think that's what kind of helps kind of keep the charm of who we are. Is that so you'll notice like for our agents, we have a very high app per agent, so we don't have like there's to get the kind of production that we do. A lot of times, an agency will have to 1,000 agents or something like that. And so we spend time with our agents. We really focus on helping them grow, helping them to be successful. So ours has been kind of more of a slow grow. We're now just kind of getting into this. All right, now we're going to really ramp up. Now we're going to, we started podcast. And so in that podcast, we get a lot of people from different markets that call us and just I'm like, hey man, well, I like your style. I like the way that you do things, and can I work with you? And at first we were telling them no, like no, like I can't support you out in California. We have agents in California that reached out. And I'm like, man, I'm not there. I can't do anything for you. And what made me kind of move forward with it is I had someone who I'd connected her with a local agency out there, and she was very unhappy. She called me back and she was like, Raul, like I just wish I could be with your company. I was like, you know what, let's do it. And so I kind of opened it up to where, if agents contact us, we're willing to work outside of our area, outside of our strong area. So now let's go ahead and we're going to expand into, we're looking at about 4 or 5 different states right now. We're kind of trying to take what we're doing and multiply it out there. Well,
I appreciate even saying no at first, because we talked about this in our mastermind. A lot of like green entrepreneurs are very, very beginning that, you'll hear this, I need 7 different incomes or income streams or whatever, and diversify my income stream. Right. Well, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But really it's build the river, not the stream first, and like build the one hyper concentrate that building in that one income stream. And then you start building the streams outside of that. And it sounds like that's what's going on.
Yeah, right now. I've always, especially when you're first starting, kind of look at things as distractions. I remember I read a book, but they call them like shiny objects. Yeah, you start to see these shiny objects, and that's happened to people that I've known. They're like, so we do Medicare insurance, and it's a niche thing, right? But I had an agency that was partnering with me. they were like, okay, yeah, we're doing this, but then we're also doing this life insurance thing, and then we're also which it kind of goes together with it. But then they're like, we also want to do this auto and home insurance thing, and so it was like, hey man, if you just focus that energy on building this one thing, how big that it could actually be.
Yeah.
And so I know that there's a lot of people who say that, you've got to have the multiple streams of income. And definitely right now our agency, we are looking at talking to, and we're starting to do more life insurance. We're starting to do more, ACA, like individual health insurance, those types of things. But I always tell people, so I used to work at Humana, and we focused on Medicare Advantage, right? And then they would bring in these other products, and they'd like, you got to sell these other products. But what we would see is that the other products, we would start to do a great job of that, but then our production for Medicare Advantage would just fall. And be like, wait. And I remember telling my manager one day, I was like, look, do me a favor. Would you concentrate on this right here? And I had a pencil in my hand or something. And I was like, concentrate on it. I was like, now concentrate on this over here. Yeah. I was like, it's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible. So for me, I've always been like, I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna keep the eye on exactly what I'm trying to do. We've got a little bit now, but as long as it never becomes too much of a distraction to, hey, this is our main thing. Medicare is our main thing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because it's true. Yeah, there's lots of cross-selling opportunities for people out there. But you got to lock down that one first.
Exactly.
That we've had people come and go, right? But we had a new person come on not too long ago, and she's jacked. She's so jacked. She's like, I want to do it all, and we don't do any PNC at all here. And we do full scale planning, but we don't. And PNC is like, we look at it, analyze it, but we don't have it as part of our own offering. We bring somebody else in,
right,
if they want to really analyze it and get it. And so, and it's funny because she's like, well, I want to be able to do everything for somebody. I'm like, I get it. I appreciate the excitement, but no, you don't. And because really, and all I ever think about is like, you're doing everything. You're just okay at a lot of things, right? Yeah. But if you do one thing, you think about the restaurants to serve one or two dishes, and they're jam-packed, yep, right? I mean, you're like, how do you get away with that, serving one or two? That's because you become excellent at just doing that thing, and you make it repeatable over and over and over again.
Exactly.
So
one of the things I think too with agents like that, when we have those, I'm like, man, you could, but what I would do is instead I would go out and reach out into the community and find 5 or 6 people who do PNC insurance and connect with them and talk to them. Hey, look, I don't do PNC insurance. I would love to have a good person that I could recommend that my clients call. My hope here is that you would do the same when you have someone who has financial needs, or in my case, Medicare, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so kind of doing it that way and kind of turning it around. Like, look, we're not going to do this, but what if you turn this into, because like in our business, like one new to Medicare sale is worth significantly more than if you've sold an auto or home insurance, yeah. So that's the conversation I have a lot of times with agents. It doesn't always work because ours are independent. They can do whatever they want, but usually a lot of times it makes sense. And if you go out there and create these relationships, and it just becomes this thing where like, man, I'm just getting these referrals that are coming in because I sent some business that way once.
Yeah. So. No, I've seen it. Well, I get attracted to that, right? I get, we had somebody this Q1 this year who they sent us 2 clients. It was a realtor, in fact. And I'm like, whoa. Like, and this was actually, somebody who's really awesome, just didn't fit the bill for us last year. And they actually they got a totally different advisor because we had a misalignment in what we wanted. And it's nothing bad at all. And so, but they referred 2 other people that was not their person to us.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
And so what's funny to me is like, I think you see a lot of the people who aren't successful in their route or die out early or whatever it is. Cause we have even some of these brokerages, they have over 70-80% fail out rates.
Oh, yeah.
For agents or advisors that can't last. And but you get into this place like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. I'm like, it's not that, man. You gotta give. Like there's a reciprocity rule that has to be exercised, and do it honestly. Like do it for real and be true about it, right? And so, but I tell you what happened was like even in this scenario that she sent 2 referrals to us. I immediately was like, "Whoa, hold on, what's going on with you? Talk to me about what is in your life right now in your business. How can I help you out right now?" And because I immediately wanted to jump and help her out with her stuff, and so because she didn't ever ask for it,
That is pretty cool to to do it that way. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely puts a burden on you, right? Like you want to make sure that you're paying that back, and not everybody has that. That's my personality type also. Or if somebody does something for me, I'm like, well, I'm gonna figure out a way to repay this back. I just want you, like it's not even like a burden that I have on, like I just have to do, like it's more of like, man, I want to. I want to do something for you. You like, you did this for me. Let me go out of my way for you. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's awesome.
same.
Well, so, okay. So is there, what's challenges or anything, like, I guess if you could look back on your journey so far with the business, and I'd say mix in your family in this, right? But what has been like the hardest or maybe the biggest lesson that you've taken away from this thing? And, I guess building the business and basically not blowing it, right? We have a newsletter going out Sunday night. Big thing, I was talking with the Dallas Cowboy rookies not too long ago, and big things we're talking about was hyper concentrate. I love these guys, but they can be immature, right? And I'm like, we hyper concentrate, and this is what football started with me, was that's where that income stream came. It's a hyper concentration of my skill. I invested in that like crazy, and then I did that afterwards. And so basically get the river flowing, right? And then don't blow it. Don't like go blow it up. Like, so all that in big, maybe like if you could speak to any of those elements in your life, what's been like some of the biggest lessons that you've taken?
Yeah, biggest lesson I would say that I've learned is I used to be that, especially after, okay, so I started off not caring what people thought, right? And I just kind of was like out there and just had an attitude everywhere. And then I completely steered the other way, where I care so much about what other people think, or about what you think of me, or what everyone that I'm interacting thinks of me. And so I get to this point where I'm caring so much, and then turns out I find out that there's if there's something being said about me, my biggest lesson here is that we can't focus on what other people are saying. I think that when we're active and we're out there and we are working very close with people, you're going to ruffle some feathers, even if you don't intend to. And for me, the biggest lesson, the hardest lesson to learn, was to not care about the opinion of others. If they're not inside my inner circle, if it's not my wife, my kids, or like people that I truly have these really close relationships with, I can't spend time and energy focusing on what other people are thinking about me. It's been probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard a good message not too long ago about that. It was you want to be magnetic in your personality, right? But a magnet both attracts and repels. And so you want to attract what you want, right? Like maybe ideal client profile, or I want to attract my wife to me. Come on, baby. But at the same time, I don't want the wrong people involved in my life, because they end up being a headache as a client, or a headache as a friend. You don't want that, right? I'm like, you don't want the wrong people influencing you the wrong way in your life. But I appreciated that, because like, I think for me, I'm very much like includer is part of my thing. And so I can try to be a people pleaser, where that was me in football growing up. It's like, man, if you were my coach, I did anything to make you have a good light in your life. I wanted you to like me. Right. And I took that to some bad places sometimes, where I was like, why do I care about this opinion of someone I do not want to be like? Right. And it was kind of that realization that I think it was a good balance of I don't care what they think, right? I think it's kind of the discernment of the judgment of like, is it somebody I care about? Is it somebody I want to be like? And then, okay, if it is, I got to take it in then. That's when I do care about it.
Yeah. And that was probably the hardest lesson that it took me like a year to learn. Cause like, I'm kind of like a lab. Like I like the positive, like scratch my belly and tell me how great I am, how much you love me. And so like whenever, the very first time really in, 12 years 12 years ago, I started this business. For the first time, I was kind of experiencing some of the opposite for the first time. Really had to deal with that and get through it. And so this whole thing about growing your business and everything like that, we have our personal growth that we have to go through also in order to get to like ultimately like the top of the mountain. We're going to have personal growth things that we deal with, business growth things that we deal with. And the way that I kind of approach it is I'm constantly working on myself, reading the books that I can read, like whatever, like every business book and even personal development book. I'm real big on that because in order for us to get where we're trying to go, I'm not smart enough to figure this out myself. There's a lot of people out there who have done a great job of, there's so many good books on business or relationships that I've gone through to kind of get me through a lot of that.
Okay. So favorite book then, is it How to Win Friends and Influence People? Or?
Yeah, I would say that it's probably outside of the Bible, the most influential book that I've probably ever read. That and Crazy Love from Francis Chan, if you've ever read it.
No, I haven't.
Oh man, it's one of my favorite spirit. So I always have like a spiritual book that I read, followed by like a business book, followed like by a personal development. So kind of Crazy Love is a great book. Also, it's probably about 15 years old, but it's a great book as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got a lot. Same thing. I became an insane reader, and that honestly is spurred on from my faith. Like that's when some insatiable fire like came out of that. Which I've always been a good learner. I got what I needed to get done, but it wasn't until that was like a desire turned on where then it became like the overflowing cup situation. Right. And that's been really, really cool. So, man, I appreciate that. Those are so good. Well, tell me what's the biggest thing you're excited about right now?
I'm excited about so everything for me is about what new can I do? Like that's it just, it's kind of I look at it could be a negative. And if we harness that energy correctly, then it's a positive. Right now, I've got some new things in my business that I'm growing that we're currently launching this completely free CRM for our agents that they can go out there and really just do a lot of digital marketing. And there's agents out there, similar product that they're paying $500 a month for this type of product, and we're giving it to all of our agents completely for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so we're launching that, so it's something that really excites me. And so stuff like that, man, I love the new. I love bringing things to people, and I love to kind of again, still people pleasing. I love to see the smiles that it brings on our current agents' face when I tell them, hey, look, you've got this thing, show them how it works, and they're like, oh wow, and I get this at no cost. So that's kind of an exciting thing for us to do always.
Dude, that's awesome. That's cool. Well, do this. One of the last, you gotta get more. I can just get more questions on you. This is great. So you bring in a new agent. What is the first, if you were starting out at day one all over again, right? What was the first thing if you tell a new agent that's coming on board, independent for the first time?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the biggest thing that I'll teach people is that you are an entrepreneur. So regardless, so you could be a real estate agent, you can be a insurance agent or whatever it is. You have to start thinking like you are an entrepreneur. I don't have a job. I'm out here and I am building a business that hopefully one day will put me in a position where I'm out taking trips and I'm out doing the things that I want to do, and I'm still getting paid. That's what I'm building up, a business as an entrepreneur. So many agents still have this mindset, and this, I think, for all of our businesses, right? I'm sure you deal with this, is like I'm trying to build something. I'm trying to build a business. I'm not trying to just go and put food on the table for that, for that time. I'm really trying to build a business. So I think attacking that entrepreneurial mindset for a lot of agents, and for anyone who's jumping into a contract type work, look at it as you're building a large business.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. That's a huge one, especially we get caught in the trap so many times.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you just bought yourself another job. That was it. A lot of times.
Well, and then honestly, yeah. And I think for a lot of agents, they'll start once they get to this kind of like this spot where it might not be where their ultimate goal is, but a lot of times we get into this comfortable spot where now I'm only working 3 or 4 hours a day, and I never really quite made it over that hump to where like I'm living really financially well. And it's because of the fact that I just got to this comfortable spot and my bills are paid, I'm good, and I'm happy, when you could have done so much more if you kind of went in there thinking like an entrepreneur.
So this was a kind of a scary thing for the whole brokerage business or insurance brokerage business last year, right? Some legislation came down that threatened like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Basically. What was the big takeaway from that?
Yeah.
Now it got slapped down. For anybody listening right now who doesn't know the situation, you got people that have built up amazing businesses over these years and years of work. All of a sudden, it's getting threatened by new legislation that it passed, and then class action suit came against it, so it got stopped. Tell me about your head going through that whole thing, and then even now where you're at right now with it. Yeah,
it's funny, when all of that came out, I remember initially just kind of feeling sick to my stomach, right? Yeah. So like there's, this proposed rule that said that they're basically going to stop paying my type of company. And so I have faith, man. I'm a man of faith. Like I trust that there's a provider for me. It's not me. I know that my family is going to be provided for. I'm going to be provided for. I just have faith. Didn't mean that I wasn't kind of a little nervous at times. But what I said to myself is, if this thing goes through, I'm probably going to take a year and then I'm going to build something else. I believe that like that's kind of something I can do. This, like, I don't feel like I got lucky by starting this business, right? I'm like, I can build another business. I can figure it out. Yeah. And so I spent a year playing golf once a week, Monday through Friday. I'd pick a day, and every single week, sometimes twice. And what I chose to do is I said, you know what, I started this business now. It was in our 11th year. I started this business 11 years ago, and I never really treated it like I was self-employed. I always kind of treated it like I was an employee of that business. And so I was always, growth minded and everything like that. So I spent 1 year, like while we were waiting to figure everything out, kind of just playing golf and taking it easy, because I know that there's going to be times where if it would have come back, where I'd have to come back in and give my all to start working again, to build something new. And so there's a time, in kind of rhythms in life where we work really, really hard, but then maybe we take it easy. And that's kind of what I did for that 1 year. But it put me in a position now where I feel so rested. This year I've played golf like 4 times this year, and we're in June. And so it put me back in a position where I'm back. I'm working. I'm putting in crazy amounts of hours because I can now, because I feel so rested from last year. And so that's how I responded. And I know other people responded different, but like I just have this faith. I know that everything's going to be fine. I know that I could build something else up. I know where my finance comes from, and I know I'm going to be okay. So that's how I approached it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, I appreciate you. I mean, just the way you talk, and how you handle yourself, man.
Likewise, man.
Really good.
I just want to tell you, man, I love your content. I love what you do. I love I follow everything on your personal stuff also. Just like, it's really cool to see. And I tell a man of faith, we share similar values and beliefs. And I love to see someone else going out there and building something big. I love watching your company grow also.
I appreciate it, brother. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.